Okay, so today we're diving into something pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
Revenge cheating.
Yeah,
You guys sent a ton of stuff over on this.
you did.
And I gotta say, I'm kind of hooked already.
It's juicy.
It is. It's juicy. It's like,
Lots of drama.
oh yeah, so much drama,
Yeah.
so much to unpack.
Yeah.
But like the big question everyone's asking,
Yeah.
is revenge cheating like ever actually worth it?
Is it?
You know, what's the point?
Right.
And then the other thing that like I keep coming back to is like, what is going on in people's heads when they choose to do this?
Well, it's interesting because, at first glance, it seems like,
Straightforward.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You get hurt, so you want to hurt back.
Right.
Like eye for an eye.
Tit for tat.
But
Yeah.
when you really start digging into it, revenge cheating, it's not always that simple.
Right.
Like, it's not just about evening the score. There's like all these psychological layers underneath.
Right, because like even just in how the sources define it,
Yeah.
they talk about it as this reaction to being powerless.
Mm. Yeah.
It's a way to like claw back some control.
Right. Like regain some sense of agency.
Exactly. But then they also bring up all these other things,
Right.
like all these tangled up motivations,
Yeah. Mhm.
like self-esteem issues, wanting attention.
Yeah.
Like it's way more complicated than just like an eye for an eye.
Absolutely. It really is. And that's what makes it so fascinating to study.
So we're not here to like condone cheating,
No, of course not.
obviously, but we can kind of like explore what makes someone choose this specific path
Exactly.
to lash out.
Yes.
Right.
And there's actually a really interesting psychological theory called reciprocal aggression escalation
Okay.
that explains this really well. Basically, it means that revenge often triggers this back and forth of increasingly hurtful actions.
Oh, so it just keeps escalating.
Exactly. It can turn into this really vicious cycle that just spirals out of control.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, we have all these theories, but then we also have like real life examples.
Right, because you sent over those 9 stories
Mhm.
from the lost tapes. And these are like,
Real people,
yeah.
messy situations.
Yeah, these aren't just hypotheticals. These are like, this is how it plays out.
Exactly. And those stories, I think, really illustrate how those theoretical cycles of aggression can actually impact people's lives.
Right.
So, for example, let's look at Troy's story.
Okay, Troy.
Yeah, remember he cheated on Mia
Mm-hmm.
after she was being really distant,
Right.
and he was hoping to regain some power in the relationship,
Uh-huh.
but it totally backfired.
Oh, it did not go well.
No, it didn't. He ended up losing his job, his reputation, and then ultimately Mia left him anyway.
Oh, man. Talks about like unintended consequences.
Exactly. His story, I think, is like a perfect example of how revenge cheating rarely achieves its intended goal.
Right.
And it's not even just about those external consequences like losing your job.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these stories really highlight the internal damage.
Like emotional damage.
Yes, the emotional damage that it can cause.
Yeah.
Like, think about Aaron. Yeah, so he hooked up with someone from like the swinger scene.
To get back at Sophie.
Exactly, to get back at Sophie for flirting with someone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like on the surface, it might seem like, okay, he's reclaiming his power, but his story really dives into how that experience left him feeling even more insecure.
Really?
Yeah, and even more damaged. Like he almost punished himself in the process.
Oh, that's so sad. It's like he was trying to hurt her, but he ended up hurting himself even more.
Exactly. And that brings us to another fascinating psychological concept,
Okay.
attachment theory.
Okay, I heard of that.
Yeah, so this suggests that people with certain attachment styles, like anxious attachment, might be more prone to seeking revenge through infidelity.
So it's like their past experiences and insecurities are like playing a role in how they react.
Exactly. They might crave that connection and validation, but their fear of abandonment can lead to these really impulsive and ultimately harmful actions.
Right. And that makes me think of Dylan.
Okay, Dylan, what happened with him?
So he had a one-night stand after finding out about Tara's infidelity,
Right.
and he ended up becoming a father
Oh, wow.
to unexpected twins.
Talk about unintended consequences.
Oh.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
So Dylan's story, I think, perfectly illustrates how impulsive revenge cheating can create this ripple effect of unforeseen outcomes. He was obviously reacting to Tara's actions, but in doing so, he created a whole new set of complex challenges for himself.
Right. It's like it just keeps getting more and more complicated.
It does, and it just shows you that the consequences can reach far beyond just that initial act of revenge.
Right. And speaking of consequences,
Yeah.
Leo's story really like stuck with me.
Oh, yeah. What about Leo?
So he slept with someone to get back at his ex.
Okay.
only to find out later that this woman had a serious health condition.
Oh, no.
And now he's dealing with the guilt and the anxiety of, like, potentially exposing himself to something serious.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that brings up a really important point about the inherent risk involved in revenge cheating. Like, when your emotions are running, that high logic often takes a backseat.
Right.
People can act really impulsively, and they don't always consider the potential ramifications, not just emotionally, but also physically and even financially.
Right. It's a lot to think about.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like these stories are like a giant cautionary tale.
Right.
Flashing neon signs.
Yeah.
Saying, like, proceed with extreme caution.
Totally.
But, like, even with all that, even seeing how messy it gets, that urge for revenge,
Oh, yeah.
it can be so strong.
It's powerful.
What do you say to someone who's thinking, like, yeah, but they hurt me first, I deserve to get even?
I mean, that's totally understandable. Like, it's a natural human reaction to feel that way when you've been betrayed. But the problem is seeking revenge. It rarely brings the satisfaction people hope for. Instead of providing closure, it often just pours gasoline on the fire.
Oh, yeah.
It just intensifies the pain and prolongs the drama.
Totally. Like, look at James.
Oh, yeah.
He started seeing Vanessa to get back at Emily.
Right.
But it turned into this whole web of lies. And he ended up losing both relationships.
And feeling even more miserable than before.
Right. It's like that whole thing of, like, fighting fire with fire.
Exactly.
Just makes a bigger mess.
You just create more chaos and destruction.
So that's why, like, the source really emphasizes exploring these healthier alternatives
Yes.
to revenge cheating.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about those.
Okay.
Like, they mention open communication, which I could see how that would be helpful.
Right.
But, like, what if the betrayal is so deep that communication seems impossible?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think that's where seeking professional help can be incredibly beneficial.
Like therapy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a therapist can provide a safe space
Right.
to process those raw emotions, work through communication roadblocks,
Yeah.
and even explore whether there's any possibility of rebuilding trust.
So therapy can be a game changer.
It really can be.
Not just for dealing with the immediate pain, but for addressing those deeper issues that we talked about earlier.
Yes, exactly. Like those insecure attachment styles.
Right.
A therapist can help you understand the root causes of your reactions and develop healthier coping mechanisms. They can give you tools for communicating more effectively and setting boundaries in your relationship.
So it's like getting to the root of the problem.
Exactly.
And therapy is not just for individuals, though, right?
Right.
It can be for couples, too.
Absolutely. Even in situations where the relationship seems like irreparably damaged.
You mean like with Mark and Lily?
Oh, yeah, Mark and Lily.
He cheated on her with their mutual friend.
That's rough.
Can you even come back from that?
I mean, reconciliation after infidelity is definitely challenging.
Yeah.
It's not always possible.
Right.
It takes immense effort, honesty, and a willingness to forgive on both sides. But even if the relationship can't be salvaged,
Yeah.
couples therapy can help both partners gain closure and move forward in a healthy way.
So it's about healing,
Yeah.
whether it's together or separately.
Exactly.
Okay, so the source also mentions self-reflection as like a key alternative.
Right.
How does that fit in?
So self-reflection is all about taking a step back from those intense emotions. The anger, the hurt,
Yeah.
that desire for retribution,
Yeah.
and asking yourself some tough questions.
Like what?
Like, why am I reacting this way? What role did I play in this situation? What do I truly need right now?
So it's like really getting to know yourself.
Exactly. It's a process of getting to know yourself on a deeper level.
Okay, so instead of just lashing out,
Right.
you're taking the time to understand your own emotions
Yes.
and motivations.
And that can be so powerful for breaking free from those destructive cycles of revenge.
And that's where having a good support system comes in.
Absolutely. Like surrounding yourself with people who will listen without judgment, offer guidance, and encourage healthy choices. Yeah, it's like you're building a safety net, a team of people who can help you through those rough waters and make good choices for yourself.
And it makes me think about, like, how these stories also highlight the ripple effect
Oh, yeah.
of revenge cheating.
Huge ripple effect.
It's not just about the two people involved,
No, it's not.
right? It impacts, like, everyone around them.
Everyone.
Like, remember Ethan?
Oh, yeah.
His revenge affair? It didn't just hurt Lucy.
Right.
It, like, fractured their whole friend group.
Their whole social circle.
Yeah, friendships were broken. Trust was shattered.
Total fallout.
It's like a bomb went off.
It is. Yeah, it's like a bomb.
And in Troy's case, it wasn't just his personal life.
Right.
His professional life took a hit, too.
Yeah, big time.
So it's like this stark reminder that these actions can have consequences that we don't even think about.
You don't even see coming.
It's like throwing a stone in a pond.
Exactly.
The ripples just keep spreading.
And they affect everything in their path.
It makes you really question whether those like fleeting moments of getting
Are worth it.
right, because you're so focused on that one person, you don't see all the collateral damage.
Than all the other people you might be hurting.
Exactly. And it's a gamble with incredibly high stakes.
Right.
And when you really zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the potential losses, they far outweigh any gains.
Dive into the shadows of human nature with the Lost Tapes podcast, where the truths hidden beneath our daily lives are brought to light. We uncover the layers of complex relationships, hidden emotions, and raw realities, from mental health to life's hardest truths. No topic is off limits, no story too raw. The Lost Tapes podcast is your invitation to understand the unspoken facets of life. Join us and let's explore life's hidden sides, one story at a time. Don't miss out on more hidden truths. Subscribe now to the Lost Tapes podcast. Stay curious. Stay informed. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to never miss an episode.
When it comes to women who are doing the revenge cheating, there's all sorts of assumptions about why they do it and how they go about it.
Oh, for sure.
But what we're going to do today is look at this book, 9 True Stories of Revenge Cheating Motivations and Consequences.
Yes.
And it really is fascinating. Like, I read this thing cover to cover.
Oh, me too. I couldn't put it down.
I know. And it really changes your perspective on the whole thing.
Because you go in thinking, okay, it's all going to be about...
like anger and...
yeah, just rage, right? Like just pure...
getting back at the person.
yeah, just evening the score. Totally.
Right.
But the section we're looking at, The Lost Tapes Part 2, Men Who Cheated, it gets so much deeper than that.
Okay, so I want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
Sure.
So we're talking about women who were cheated on.
Right.
And then they decided to cheat themselves. But you're saying the book is saying there's more to it.
There's like this whole other layer of strategy going on. It's almost like they're taking back the power, you know?
Oh,
not just by getting even, but like by being the ones who are calling the shots.
So it's less about making the guy feel as bad.
Yeah, like a lot of these women weren't even trying to hurt their partners.
Really?
At least not as like the main goal.
So if it's not about tit for tat, then what is it?
It's more about, and the book really gets into this, about reclaiming their sense of self, you know, after feeling totally disregarded. Like, it's almost like they're saying, you might have messed up, but I'm still worthy.
That's interesting.
Right. I'm still capable of having these feelings and
yeah, like having a good time.
Exactly.
But wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the partners feel even more betrayed if they found out?
Oh, for sure. And that's where the whole strategic thing really comes in.
Okay.
Because these women, they're not trying to blow things up. They're not looking to confess. You're operating on a whole other level.
So they're like going full on secret agent with this whole thing.
Pretty much. It's wild. The book goes into all these crazy methods they use. Like, one woman, Isabel, she would switch perfumes on the days she was meeting her lover.
Wait, really?
So her partner wouldn't suspect anything.
Wow, switching perfumes.
I know, right?
That's intense.
It's next level. And that's just one example. Another woman, Lily, she was all about tech. She had this locked notes app for all her secret messages, phone always on do not disturb when she was with her partner.
Oh, wow, that's so sneaky.
I know.
But I guess it makes sense. With technology, it's easier than ever to cheat, but also easier than ever to
hide it. It's like a double-edged sword.
Totally. There's
another story about Clara. She used a totally separate chat app, deleted every conversation immediately.
Wow.
It's like the whole thing was designed to vanish without a trace.
So they're leading these totally separate lives. But how do they even manage that in real life? I mean, it can't just be...
oh, they get creative.
Yeah.
Like girls' nights out, work functions, anything they can use as cover.
Oh, smart.
Jenna, she was using girls' nights to meet up with this musician she was seeing.
Seriously?
Yeah.
They're like running their own covert ops.
It's wild.
But all this planning, the lengths they go to, It makes you think.
It's more than just getting even, right? There's something deeper going on.
And that's what we're going to get into.
Oh, yeah.
In part 2.
Let's get psychological. It's like by going through all this, they're reclaiming their sense of agency.
Agency, yeah.
You know, in a situation where they felt totally powerless.
Right, like they're taking back control.
Exactly. And it's not always like a full-blown affair either.
Oh, really?
Sometimes it's just like a few carefully planned encounters, just enough to feel desired, to feel like they're in the driver's seat again.
I see. So it's more about...
It's about the feeling.
The feeling, yeah.
Yeah, and the book has this great example, Natalie.
Oh, yeah.
She felt completely ignored by her husband. So she would use business trips to meet up with this colleague.
And this colleague, like, was into her, or?
Oh, yeah, totally admired her work, thought she was brilliant.
Okay.
And she went all out, separate hotels, burner phones.
Wow. Yeah.
She was like a ghost, completely untraceable.
So it's like Ocean's 11, but with infidelity.
Right.
That's crazy. But it begs the question.
Yeah.
If it's not always about making the partner suffer, then what's the end game?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
I think it comes down to, well, a few things.
Okay.
For some women, it's about proving a point.
Oh,
Like, see what you're missing.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Showing their partner that they're still desirable, that they can move on.
So it's a little look what you lost kind of thing?
Exactly. And for others, it's more about recapturing that feeling of...
Excitement.
Yeah, excitement, freedom, you know?
Like a part of themselves they felt was missing?
Totally. Like, they're rediscovering who they are outside of the relationship.
But doesn't that just create a new dependency?
That's a good point.
Like they're just transferring those needs onto someone else.
And that's where it gets really interesting, because the book suggests
yeah.
that for some women, it's not about finding a new partner at all.
Oh, good.
It's about rediscovering their own sense of self-worth.
Okay.
It's like and this might sound weird, but like a twisted form of self-care.
Self-care. Okay.
Yeah, like they're seeking validation outside the relationship to make up for what's missing at home.
So it's less about the other person and more about...
It's about how it makes them feel about themselves.
That is fascinating.
Right. It really flips the script on how we usually think about infidelity.
Yeah, because we usually focus on...
the betrayal, the hurt.
Yep.
But there's this whole other layer of empowerment, especially for women who felt taken for granted.
So they're taking back their own narrative.
Exactly. They're not defined by what their partner did anymore.
That's powerful.
It is. And it makes you think about, like, the whole context of the situation.
Like the power dynamics.
Yes. The societal pressures, all of it.
Right.
It's not just about the act itself. It's about what led to it.
Okay, so we've talked about reclaiming power, self-worth, all that. But how do these women justify it?
Morally.
Yeah. Do they think it's okay?
That's where it gets really tricky. And honestly, the book doesn't try to give easy answers.
Yeah.
It just presents the stories, lets you grapple with the moral ambiguity.
So no judgment.
No judgment, just understanding that these are real people with real experiences.
We're not saying it's right or wrong.
We're just trying to get inside their heads.
Yeah, to see things from their perspective.
Exactly, because that's how we start to have more honest conversations about infidelity.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the men in these stories?
Ah, right. The other side of the coin.
Where do they fit into all of this?
Well, the book doesn't let them off the hook.
Okay.
In every case, the women were reacting to something.
Something the man did.
Yeah, it could be emotional distance, actual cheating, even just a lack of appreciation.
So their actions are a direct result of
how they were being treated.
Like a cause and effect.
It's definitely about restoring some kind of balance.
But doesn't that just create a cycle?
A cycle of hurt?
Yeah, like two wrongs don't make a right.
That's the age-old debate, isn't it?
It is.
And that's exactly what we're going to tackle in the last part.
Okay.
We'll look at the consequences, the fallout, the whole messy aftermath.
All right, so we've talked about the why, the how, all the ins and outs of revenge cheating. But the big question, the one I keep coming back to, is this really a path to healing?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Right, or is it just...
like a more sophisticated way to hurt someone.
Yeah, like, is it really empowering, or is it just...
just more pain, more mess.
Exactly.
And the thing is, with this book...
yeah.
there's no easy answer.
Oh, really?
Which I think is actually a good thing.
Okay.
Because it lets you, the reader, really wrestle with it.
So it's not like a revenge is always wrong kind of message.
Yep, not at all.
Huh. That's interesting.
Right.
Because it acknowledges that...
life is messy.
Yeah.
Relationships are messy.
It's not always black and white.
Exactly.
But there have to be consequences, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, even if it's not about intentionally causing pain, this level of deception, it can't just disappear.
It has ripple effects.
Yeah.
And sometimes the secret comes out.
And then what?
Boom. Relationship explodes beyond repair.
Oof, that's heavy.
Right. And even if they don't get caught,
there's still the mental and emotional toll.
All that secrecy, the lying, the looking over your shoulder.
It's got to be exhausting.
It's like living a double life constantly.
Yeah, and then you wonder, is this really empowerment?
Or just a different kind of trap.
Right, like they've escaped one bad situation, but...
ended up in another.
Exactly. But then what's the alternative?
That's the key question.
If they're already feeling neglected, powerless.
What else can they do?
Right.
And this is where the book really emphasizes communication, open and honest communication.
Okay.
Because a lot of these women, they felt unheard.
In the relationships.
Yeah, like their needs didn't matter.
And over time.
That builds up, that resentment.
Yeah, it festers.
And it can lead them down this path.
So it's almost like a last resort.
In a way.
When all else has failed.
It's a symptom of a bigger problem.
Wow, this has been...
a lot, right?
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
Very thought-provoking.
So if you had to pick one thing, one takeaway for our listeners.
I think it's this. Infidelity, any kind of infidelity, it's usually not just about betrayal.
Okay.
It's about something deeper. Unmet needs, broken communication, pain.
And revenge cheating, it might seem like a way to regain control.
But it can create even more problems.
So it's more of a cautionary tale.
Than a how-to guide, yeah.
Exactly.
And I hope it makes people think about their own relationships.
Oh, interesting.
Like, are there things you're not saying? Resentments building up?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because real healing, real empowerment that comes from honesty, communication, building something healthy.
Well said.
Thank you.
This has been, wow, quite a journey.
Deep dive indeed.
Into the world of revenge cheating. But before we go,
yes,
I want to leave our listeners with something to chew on.
Ooh, I like it.
So we talked about revenge cheating being about reclaiming power.
Right.
But what does that say about how we approach love in the first place?
Ooh, good question.
Are we really equal partners, or are we always fighting for control?
That's for you to decide.
Something to think about.
Definitely.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.
Stay curious, stay informed, and stay connected.
Dive into the shadows of human nature with the Lost Tapes podcast, where the truths hidden beneath our daily lives are brought to light. We uncover the layers of complex relationships, hidden emotions, and raw realities, from mental health to life's hardest truths. No topic is off limits, no story too raw. The Lost Tapes podcast is your invitation to understand the unspoken facets of life. Join us and let's explore life's hidden sides, one story at a time. Don't miss out on more hidden truths. Subscribe now to the Lost Tapes podcast. Stay curious. Stay informed. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to never miss an episode.